Hello, I would like to explain a few other things that are quite important for pursuing music research or research in general, but some are specific to music research. Now, this is more general. DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier, and that is basically it's a standardized way to identify a specific digital object. So that is housed somewhere on the internet, and it's usually in this format. So doi.org is the organization, and then there are unique numbers that are attached to one particular item. How do you find them? Well, they're usually listed in the article themselves. If the article has a DOI, then they're probably printed there, or if they were attached to the article later, you may find it in a database listed. So it is nowadays suggested, and a very good practice, to add the DOI link at the end of your reference. So here's an example in APA style. So you have the reference, and then you have the DOI, which is either a number or like a link, right? So quite important, if there is a DOI, include the DOI in your reference. I also want to point out a few other databases. One is RISM, is very important. Now, we covered RILM before, Repertoire International de Littérature Musicale. It's literature, so that's secondary sources. But RISM really is, the S stands for source. So Repertoire International de Source Musicale, so musical sources, and those are mainly primary sources, but that depends on what the object of your research is. So the website is RISM.info, RISM, RISM.info, and you can actually search here. I already did a sample search and found a Mozart piece that I want to show. So this is the RISM entry. Here's Mozart, Clemenza di Tito, excerpts arranged. Then more information, in this case the Köchel number for the Mozart piece, and so on. And it's in a certain collection, and it says in which library this piece of music is, and there's a link to it too. So now also earlier here is read online. So if the item is scanned and accessible online, you can actually pull it up online. So by clicking on that link, and I already scrolled here to page 3, but this is in a score that's not in Mozart's handwriting. It's written by Johann Georg Steger, who copied this in 1836. And so it is, if you do a research on different versions of this piece, then that is a primary source. But most importantly, even if the actual item is not scanned and available online, searching in RISM will tell you what original scores or even copies of scores, hand copied or so, what kind of scores are available and in which library they're located. So this is very important. Remember RISM.info, or simply remember RISM and Google RISM, and you will always find it. Another database is a RIPM, RIPM, which is very similar to RILM. RILM is Repertoire International de Littérature Musicale, and this is the retrospective the retrospective index to music periodicals. Um, Now, RILM actually includes music as well. RIPM is only periodicals, but it's retrospective. In RILM is everything from 1966 on or 1967 on, and RIPM contains everything before that. But it depends on whether or not the library subscribes to RIPM, but everybody needs to know about it. And then if the library subscribes to it, you probably actually have access to many of the full text items as well. But remember RIPM. And another that is RIdIM. And the D stands for the iconography. The iconography, so the DI, Repertoire International de Iconographie Musicale. That is musical iconography. So you have paintings, any kind of other virtual artwork that depicts something with music. So there may be musical instruments. So anything visual that that depicts something that refers to music would be an important document for musical iconography. And so that can give us clues about what instruments were used at a certain time or in a certain culture, in a certain country, in a certain region. How did the instruments look like at that time? And perhaps it even gives us clues about the performance practice, on how musicians performed with each other, to audiences, and whatnot. So musical iconography is quite important. So check it out. Go to RIDIM.org, RIDIM.org, and do some searches. And the last one I want to check out, there is a database that is especially important for music education scholars. It's not as standardized database or accessible data. Well, it's very accessible, but it's not a database just like RILM or Music Index, but it is kind of maintained by hand and added to. And so it's a bibliographic database on music education research. And so it is found at musicresearchnexus.com, and you can click on search, and then you can do some searches in that database. So I recommend you do some sample searches in musicresearchnexus.com. So this is just a few more databases, websites that are very important for music research. So have fun doing more research. Bye.